Hey, it's me. I'm the Rebel Reseller. My name is Rebel, and I live in East Tennessee, and I'm been selling on eBay for 22 years. I started out originally with mostly stuffed animals, but I have been changing it up a little bit, trying to get other things listed. And this video is going to be what sold this past week, May 17th through the 23rd. I've picked some of the highlights of the week from eBay and Facebook, and I'm going to share with you what I sold, if I can remember how much I paid for it, and what it sold for. Did I say that? What sold, how much I paid for it, and what it sold for. Yes, Robert fixed this. All right, let me go ahead and get it started. Oh wait, first, before I even start this, just probably something that we've all faced, and this is how I dealt with it, but I got a neutral feedback this week, and it was on a stuffed animal that I had shipped out, and it said didn't work with a neutral. And I sent them a message saying, I'm not quite sure if this was an error, but this toy didn't do anything. It was just a stuffed animal, and I didn't hear back from them. So this morning I decided just to go ahead and send them a feedback revision that said, I'm not sure if this was an error. I say that because the feedback before that one was the exact same words, didn't work. So I sent them a feedback revision this morning, and they reversed it and gave me glowing feedback. So if this ever happens to you and you just think maybe it might be an error and they haven't responded to a previous message, go ahead and send it. It can't hurt. So that's my quandary for the day. Didn't start out well. All right, let me go ahead and start this video, and I'll show you some of the things that I've sold this week on eBay and Facebook. All right, I featured this item a couple of weeks ago on one of my hauls. I had been in a Goodwill, hadn't found much, and was digging through the wallet area and I knew instantly when I saw it what it was. Paid 99 cents for it. It is a Lisa Frank vintage pencil case that had the kissing fish on it. I listed it for $49.95, but I did end up taking a best offer of $35. Nice. Oops. Don't know why it's doing that. There. This is a model that we picked up at an estate sale a couple of weeks ago. I do not remember how much I paid for this, but it was only a couple of bucks, maybe $5. But I ended up taking a best offer of $45 for it. It was still, here, let me show you. The box had lots of wear, but inside everything was still sealed. So I wasn't too worried about getting it and it having missing pieces. All right, this next item was a Mega Bloks Thomas set that had Percy, Harold, and I think a partial James maybe. I picked this up, I want to say, at a consignment sale. And I think I actually featured this, but it sold for a best offer of $20. These are the big chunky blocks. I don't normally pick up Mega Bloks, but when I have Thomas, I'll usually pick it up. This we picked up on one of our sourcing trips at a Goodwill bins. It was a huge, like, classroom set of beginner reader books. There were 5 complete book sets, and then one that was opened. I had only seen one on eBay that had sold for $15, just the book set. So I went ahead and I started really high, $89.95, but I did take a best offer of $65. This probably weighed 4 or 5 pounds, and I would have paid by the pound, so $5 or $6 probably. This is a Fur Skins bear. It's by Xavier Roberts, the same person who does Cabbage Patch. This one was dressed up in a cute little camo outfit and had its boots, and I sold it for $18.55. This is a gooned horse laying down like it is in the picture. It was 19 inches, and I sold it for $13.90. I featured this. I think it actually didn't quite make it in the video. It might have. But this was a Sanrio mirror from last week when I had stopped on my way home at a yard sale that had tons of vintage stuff. This was the first item it sold. I sold it the same day I listed it. It's just a little ballerina bear mirror, and it had been personalized, and I took a best offer of $35. My husband picked this up at an estate sale. I kind of tend to have narrow vision towards the vintage toys and stuffed animals and some kitchen stuff, but he always finds these weird things. I'm pretty sure we paid $4 or $5 for it at an estate sale. It is a Rolodex Punchodex paper punch, and it had all of its these little knob things that go inside of it, and I took a best offer of $18. I stopped at a yard sale a couple weeks ago, and the lady had two of these Floral Bowls by Temptations. One was this small one, and then the other one was a slightly larger. I'm pretty sure I paid $5 for the two. And I sold the smaller one for $20 best offer. I sold this. I had to use Google Lens because I had never seen this figure before, but it was President Calvin Ellis, a Superman figure by Mattel, and I got it just in a bag of stuff at an estate sale. It was just some action figures and stuff like that, but nothing unique except for him, and he sold for $37.15. I've had several of these that I featured in my solds recently. I had been to an estate sale and picked up just a little pencil case that had several Apple products in it, pens, pencils, pen backs, and I sold the mechanical pencil for $23.20. I had paid $10 for the whole pencil case. Not remembering where we picked this up. I think we did this at the Goodwill bins also. It is a Posy Pitch outdoor lawn game. It had all of its pieces. Very cute. I want to say probably from the 70s. And I sold it for $18.55. Again, this was one of those things I had to make sure I had a box that fit it before I ever did list it, because it was a large box. I pick up board games whenever I can, especially if I can confirm that they're complete. This is a game called Egypt of Canaan. It's a Bible board game. A lot of homeschoolers like this type of stuff, so I think we got this at a yard sale for $1 or $2, and I sold it for $18.55. I featured this last weekend at my last haul. This was from that batch of toys I picked up on my way home. And it was a Baby Beans doll, and she had the pull string, and she talked. She had some condition issues on her body, so I didn't price her as high as some of the others that had sold, but I did list her and sell her the same day for $14.95. This is sad. I sold my Pampers Chef covered dish. This past week, I took a best offer of $35 on it. I had paid $5 for it at a yard sale, and it was wrapped immaculately. My husband's very good at this, but it must have been thrown, because even the person told me that it was packed where it should have survived typical handling. But it was broken, so I'm going to have to file a claim this evening to try to see if the post office will reimburse me for the damage. This is a Dandy Rabbit. Again, I couldn't find any comps on it, so I always just kind of, it was a nice quality, different kind of color, so I listed it for $29.95, and it sold almost immediately for the asking price. So just because there's no comps doesn't mean it's not going to sell quickly. I just kind of, over the years, I just pick certain price lines that I'm going to use depending on the quality, the brand, anything like that. This is came off of a vintage Sunbeam Mix Master mixer set with the bowls. The mixer wasn't working, it had some condition issues too, so I just went ahead and split it up. I've already sold the little beaters that came in it, and this is the turntable that you put the bowls on, and it sold for $13.45. It's excellent to pick up these old sets and just sell the parts. This was kind of a surprise. I picked this up at the Goodwill bins on one of our sourcing trips, and he's been listed a while, and all of a sudden he sold for $35.95. It's by a company called Determined Productions. It was from 1979. I've never heard of this character, Phineas the Frog. So, but I will always pick up vintage plush. It's just my thing. This is a yellow baby blanket. I don't even think it had no tag, so I didn't know who made it. Google Lens didn't tell me anything. But I went ahead and listed it, and it sold for $17.95. I think I had this in one of my recent hauls. It's a pillow shaped like a Pokeball from Pokemon, and it sold at best offer of $13.95. Christmas sales all year long. I just listed these recently. I picked them up at an estate sale, this and I think the next screen I'm going to show you, but I think I paid $0.25 each, and I took a best offer on these Rugrats ornaments for $12. And then I'm pretty sure I paid $1 each for these Elvis Christmas ornaments, and they sold for $16. I featured this on a recent haul. It's a vintage raccoon plush, real fat, kind of long, by Walmart, and I didn't see any on Facebook, so I went ahead and listed it for $39.95, and when it went on sale, it sold for $35.95. This, I had to go into one of the doll ID groups because I thought it was Rainbow Bright, but I couldn't picture it on any of the vintage plush. But I was told it went to some baby Rainbow Bright. So I went ahead and listed it. It's just a pair of panties for a doll. And I sold it for best offer of $12. This is a Build-A-Bear Disney Princess. It was a limited edition plush, and I sold it for best offer of $16. And I showed this, we picked it up, I think last weekend or the weekend before. It was some vintage JCPenney briefs, men's briefs, still in the pack, and we paid $5 for them, and they sold for $26.95. These next few items I'm going to show you are things that I sold this past week on Facebook. I've been doing a lot of cross-listing there, and they had a free shipping special this past weekend, and I think I ended up shipping about 25 items from Facebook sales, so it was a nice weekend. This was some Mr. Coffee mugs that I had picked up at an estate sale. It's been a while. And they sold on Facebook for $12. I think I paid $1. They were in a little box for the 3 of them. This is a Littlest Pet Shop. I couldn't figure out how to get it to work, so I had to use YouTube and figure out how to make sure that it was working, and it was, and I sold it on Facebook for $10. I picked up a baggie, and it had probably 5 of different ones in it, and I listed each one separately. I've sold several of them. I went to a pretty much like a closeout sale. I saw an ad on Facebook Marketplace for somebody who had been like a flea market toy dealer and was wanting to get out of the business. And I went there and I bought a tote about this big that was full of California raisins. There's several hundred. So I've been starting to make small little lots, and I put some of them in my antique booth. But this was the first set that I got set up, and I sold it almost immediately on Facebook for $20 for the 12 raisins. I think these were the ones that came from Hardee's back in like the 80s. The person who bought this stitch also bought a second one, and when you're on Facebook, you can't combine shipping unless you fix the listing to include everything in one. They didn't even ask, so she had bought this Lilo in Stitch plush for $13, and then she bought this one for $12. This was a Jellycat dog I featured in one of my earlier hauls. I picked it up for 50 cents or $1, and I sold it on Facebook for $17. It's nice on Facebook because they only charge you 5% fees, where eBay it's 11, 12, 14% in fees. I sold this Imaginext Joker tank. I bought a huge container of just a whole lot of Imaginext Marvel type and DC Comics, some of those, and I parted them into small lots, and this one sold for $12. This is some little, I've had a tote that I've just kept throwing Littlest Pet Shops in, and then one day I decided to get in there and I just pulled out 10 random animals and listed them for $20, and it pretty much sold instantly. And then this last item, I had shown this in one of my first hauls. I had bought a Fisher-Price music box record player, and it's the more contemporary one that was made in like 2010. It wasn't the vintage one. Well, I finally got around. I'm going to reach over here. I ended up actually having the vintage one. So I'm going to make me a little wall here of some vintage Fisher-Price stuff, because Fisher-Price is the reason why I actually started on Facebook. I was collecting a lot of the vintage Little People and had extras, and just kind of started looking on eBay and selling my extras and trying to find pieces. And then I ended up selling all of them. But I'm going to make a little wall over here of some of the vintage Fisher-Price stuff that I buy. But then I had this more recent one, and it had its records. And when I went to test it to go ahead and get it listed, the record player didn't work. The little turn knob was stripped. So I just decided to pull the records out of the record player and discard it and list the records, and they sold for $14. All right, so that's it. I need to do another haul video. I'm behind. Like I've said in a couple of other videos, my lights just went out. My husband's been out of town. We are trying to catch up real quick on getting our videos done and processed. But I've got a haul video I need to try to get together tonight also, and then hopefully we'll be caught up. So Again, my name is Rebel. That is my birth-giving name, and that's why I kind of chose the name of the show as being the Rebel Reseller. I looking forward to this weekend sales. Around here, they start usually on Thursdays. I can hit a few, and then Fridays and Saturdays, I split it up between towns. So it's been beautiful weather here, and I'm looking forward to getting out there and finding some more treasures this weekend.